Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host Pez. I'm here with Sauce. And Sauce, how have you enjoyed the soap opera that's been going on in the AFL this week?
Yeah, Pez, Van Ruin. It's been amazing. It's been here nor there. It's been lawyers and following Twitter just in the last over hour. What you were describing to me before has been absolutely fantastic. Some well-played tweets.
Yeah, there's been some good tweets about it. But what I'm referring to as well is tribunal. It's been, 4 players going to it this week, and the AFL media are just talking about the tribunal and they're talking about the booing. And we're going to talk about it too, I guess.
I think they're actually saying Van Roo. They're not booing, Pez. It's confusion.
But I don't understand how so many people can get paid so much and then they're just talking about the same thing over and over again every day. There hasn't been too much about the actual footy. So I'm looking really forward to actually putting some content out there where we actually talk footy.
I don't want to spend too much time on it, Pez. We addressed the booing last week about our thoughts on it. We don't like to address the tribunal hearings because it's out of our control. We every week I feel like there's a different case that you sit there and you go, yay, nay, argue, appeal, whatever, boo, whatever, who cares? It's in the rules. They've got to protect the head or in the neck in this case. It was a football act, whether it be here nor there. There's part of the rules.
You've heard everyone else's opinion anyway. It's just with the booing, I don't think you can actually control if people are going to boo or not. So they're asking them not to do it. They're doing these sort of things. There's been a lot of stuff with racial kind of things. It's really, really hard with what they're doing. And when can you boo and when can't you boo? And can you outlaw it? Probably not.
I've got no problems. I mean, that's so ridiculous. Can you outlaw it? I think it's actually quite a funny concept thinking about it as grown adults, as people that go to the footy and with like they sit there and they're like, hey, let's boo this guy, and because that's the mentality of some of these people, and then like 2 or 3 people do it like, oh, look at that guy booing, I'm going to do the same, and I like it when there's like this weekend Geelong playing Richmond. I expect Tommy Stewart to get booed. I like it. He deserved to. He had a behind the play incident last time they played, pretty horrific. He should be booed, but like Buddy Franklin on the weekend with Collingwood fans. Like, why are we booing him? Makes no sense.
Who knows? And then they're sooking all over the joint on Twitter, and they're making some really horrendous points, and it's just stupidity, and you can't argue with stupidity. So let's just keep it going there. Brisbane had a big win over Carlton, and Michael Voss is coming to question this week. And can Michael Voss coach? Did he spend a long enough apprenticeship under Ken Hinkley? Was it the right place to be at? It's been all over the place.
He's got one of the hardest jobs in football because every time they lose a game, whether they're expected to or not expected to, his job gets questioned. And when they win, he gets the old, well, that's what they should be doing every week. Like, he's in a lose-lose situation. But, Carlton did lose on Friday night. It was a cracking game of football. Both of us were on the Lions. Were you on the Lions, Pez? I definitely was.
Yeah, on the Lions, and it was really good for the tipping competitions as well because after...
It's pretty easy week, mate. 9 out of 9 for me.
9 out of 9. 2 of the last 3 rounds for me as well. So that's really good because a lot of people were on Carlton after their 100 and whatever point win over West Coast, which was false form anyway, and they're coming back from a trip. Speaking about West Coast, Richmond towed them up. Geelong had I guess it was a competitive match against Adelaide.
It was competitive, but I don't think Geelong really got out of second gear. There were opportunities for Adelaide to capitalise. They didn't. But yeah,
biggest news out of that is Dangerfield hamstring.
Yeah, and he was ripping it up too. I mean, I'm glad that he went down for my Max Holmes bet. But no, but in all seriousness, he's been absolutely fantastic. Probably in back to his Brownlow form for a couple of years ago, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond this week. Geelong with a few injuries, but Adelaide, they really needed that one. They've let a couple slip the last couple of weeks. The Collingwood game they probably should have won. They probably could have made a decent sort of crack at actually winning the game at Geelong, and. Well, they'll be looking for those wins at the end of the year, I think.
Oh, before the Collingwood game, people were saying top four, and you drop the Collingwood one, and then you think, they're probably not in with a shot for that anyway. Melbourne had a 5-point win over the Gold Coast up there, so they get away with the W.
The Gold Coast been looking good.
Don't give back on the Gold Coast.
I'm back on.
The Doggies, they had a 15-point win, and the Bont just shone in that first half as well. Just he was absolutely everywhere, but no Toby Green didn't help.
Very, very, very late out, Pez. Very late out.
If you got that mail you would have beaten the bookies to it, I imagine, and gotten a little bit more value there.
Speaking of Brownlow form, though, Pez, but the Bont, he is looking good. And believe it or not, Pez, when he is played in the middle, he dominates. It's so funny that it's so funny. He goes back to where he's played his best football. When they play him there, they seem to do really well.
We've spoken about it this year with Beveridge and his weird decisions, where Bont's in the middle and he's absolutely dominating, and the Bulldogs are dominating the game and winning. And then I'm going to move him forward for the last quarter because why? And then they lose the game. It's like really ridiculous.
I just hope that someone is in his ear this week and we get to see Bont and Chris play in the midfield, and just
I'm looking forward to
the
that
whole game.
It's
It's going to be an amazing matchup, and if the Doggies want to be a shot at winning that, they need to just play him in his natural spot. Why are we putting him forward? I don't get it. I really don't.
Crazy. A game we don't need to speak about is Freo dominating Hawthorn over there.
Already spent too much time on it. Let's move on.
But Sunday, we got Port Adelaide
Super
taking
Sunday.
on Essendon,
Super Sunday.
and put out a TikTok source, and you had a bet on the game, and we'll speak about the bet more so in our bet review. But absolute crickets we got from our last Essendon video. They're commenting everywhere. Oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about, after the result, mind you. And then in this one, not many fans speaking anything before it. They're probably at quarter time. They've probably got the TikTok open with the comment, typed it in, ready to go, just waiting. And then no cigar for you, Bombers fans. Weak as piss.
Oh, Jesus, Pez. I mean, their performance wasn't weak as piss, Pez. They were lucky that Port Adelaide were inaccurate, because Port Adelaide probably should have won that by 50 points. They dominated all aspects of the game. It was a little bit nerve-wracking going into the fourth because Port Adelaide hadn't put them away. But again, as we said, Essendon probably don't win many games going on from here. They've got the three bottom sides one more time. So that's 3 more wins, and outside of that,
that takes them up to 7.
But you know, that's a really good improvement from Essendon. It's a really good improvement from where they were predicted at the start of the year.
Should be happy with that.
Should be happy.
Pretty wet and miserable and interesting. The biggest thing out of the Collingwood-Sydney game, and I need your view on this as well, the Tom Papley
love it
getting into Nick Dacos.
Love it. And you know what I like? I like the fact that's not dead in football. I was actually watching the start with my girlfriend, and she's like, what are they doing that to that young boy? Like, why are they doing that? And I was like, nah, that's football. And then like literally a couple of minutes later, boom, same sort of thing. And he's like, yes. But what I liked most is the way Dacos he handled it. Yeah,
definitely.
Went about his business.
And did he care?
No.
Not one little bit. So Collingwood fans, shut up on Twitter. Why are you going after him? Why are you doing this? They're trying to rough him up. He's been the best player in the competition in the first 7 rounds, and they're trying to get into a young guy's head.
Why not?
Yeah, he's 19 years old. It doesn't matter about your age. You're out there on the footy field, you cross the white line, you're ready to play. And Papley, he did the little push, the little hip and shoulder. He actually got a free kick against him. So if you think about it, it was actually good for Collingwood for him to do that, because he got the free kick against them. They got to fly the flag, and they kept doing it that. I don't know why the fans are sooking about that. I mean, because if it's something untoward, there's going to be a free kick paid, and it's going to advantage your club.
As a footy fan, it's win-win. You know, if you don't follow Collingwood or Sydney, it's win-win, because what you got to see is you know, a bit of rough and tough, and you got to see an angry Maynard. And Jesus Christ, is he not?
Pitbull.
Would you not want to? You wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley or a late night at a bar, because he got angry very, very quickly.
I reckon a few things have been swept under the rug during Maynard's career. He would have gone to the club and had a couple of things happen.
Like he's had a big club,
in an alleyway. Yeah, definitely. And
that's
then
a very, very weird accusation we put out there, but the old blockhead looked very angry going into that, and I've never seen anyone run so fast to get to that pack. Very good.
Absolutely hilarious.
It was a good game of footy, though. Good game of footy, and you know, Sydney sort of had the formula of how to handle Collingwood, and they end up losing by 29, but they were in this game the whole way, the way they controlled and overpossessed the football, and they probably were their inside 50. They probably handled it a little bit too much and overdisposed it a little bit, but I liked the formula, what they tried to do to undermid Collingwood.
Now, a little bit of time, but in the first half, the way Sydney went about it, Longmire obviously came down with a game plan,
good game
nice
plan.
And slow, and we'll do this. Collingwood got off to a quick start, but then Sydney brought it back, and Sydney actually led by 8 points going in. They just didn't have the cattle to keep it going. But, might be a blueprint for how to beat Collingwood. The weather might have helped a little bit, but there's got to be some coaches out there really looking into how we're going to play against them come September.
I mean, it was really good. Like, you know, we will talk on this a little bit because Collingwood is the best team, and when you've seen a way that, you know, sort of works out how to beat and compete with Collingwood, that up the middle, that quick handball was good. They handballed it a little bit and probably kicked a little bit too much in the inside 50, but that up the middle, up the guts, that was really effective.
You've got to time your kick into the forward 50 correctly.
Yeah.
And you've got to have your leading patterns up forward and things happening forward of the ball for you to be able to do that. Because sometimes you'll say, oh, they overhandballed, one too many handballs, but you can't see up the ground. Like when you're at the game, you can see, oh, they actually didn't have anything to kick to. They had to hold it up. So
but that's a really good point. That's a really good point. It wasn't the fact that they overpossessed. It was that they didn't have their structures up forward correct, enable them to get a good entry into the forward line. Yeah, that's a really good point.
And Collingwood are really well structured, and Darcy Moore leads the pack down there. The final game of the round,
It must have been really wet, Pez.
North Melbourne didn't kick a goal in the first half. St Kilda were as inaccurate as anything, and it's been said the worst game of footy people have ever seen. So
I mean,
we'll leave it at that.
You get that with Ross Lyon. You know, if Ross Lyon's going to make your club relevant again, and he's going to you know, put a winning formula together, you take the good with Ross Lyon when you hold teams to low scores and you're able to score. You also take the bad of it, because this happens every now and then.
Yeah, they were inaccurate.
Yeah.
They could have won by a lot more and scored a lot more, but
Still,
they kept
was a pretty
North
shit
Melbourne
game of footy.
34. Horrible game of footy, not even 100 points scored. So let's see how we went. Well, I'll tell you how we went. We went bloody awesome. But let's get right into it.
I can't wait to push this button.
The bet review.
Soft review. It's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They've kind of lost, but they've won as well.
What are you talking about? We just all winners, all winners.
Oh, big win, Sauce, and you've had an absolute perler of a round. But let's get started. We started on the Friday night with the second chance multi with Sportsbet. You've got to have a go at it. I went Coleman for 15 plus, Bailey for 15 plus, Ashcroft for 20 plus, and was looking okay in the first quarter, and Coleman was on track the whole game, did his hammy on 12 disposals, went off, came back on, got 2 quick disposals, and then went off and got subbed out. So that was no good for him. Bailey, he seemed to be everywhere. He kicked 4 goals, and then he just wasn't getting that link up. So he finished on 12 disposals, and then Ashcroft was one who was in the middle a lot, around the contest a lot, and just, didn't get the footy. So it didn't work out. So 1 unit there, got the bonus back, and I put it... I just had to put it in a multi because I wanted to put the bonus back and I wanted to get the money back.
You wanted to win. That's a good intention when you're winning, Pez.
I put Melbourne to win, Dogs to win, Fremantle to win. It was all the Saturday night fixture, including the twilight, 257. So I got 1.57 profit. So from that match or from that bet, it was 0.57 profit.
Yeah, I had 2 bets in this one, Pez. I had the Brisbane money line, just the over 166.5 as a same game multi, 340, 2 units on that one, and that one, Pez. First half, I looked absolutely bang on. Slowed down a little bit.
Slowed down a lot.
Slowed down a heap, Pez. Especially with Brisbane taking control of the game and just not being able to capitalise, missing a couple of shots on goal. Got home pretty easy in the end. Cleared it pretty easy by the end of it.
If you were shopping around with the live betting and the live market, and you were doing a little bit of trading on Betfair, you would have got some really good prices there. But 4.8 units profit in that one game.
Loved it.
From that second chance hit. You didn't need the second chance.
Didn't need the second chance, Pez. I did get the second chance with my boss bet. I told you I had to play around with that market last week. The money line, the over 172.5. Cameron for 2 goals. And I looked pretty good there, except for checking the stat sheet. Boom. Ashcroft let me down there, as you just spoke about, around the pill heaps, unable to get it. Missed out on a $5.10 collect there. Would have been a really big one with only 1 unit. I went to put my boss bet down. Just while I'll talk about this quickly. Really hard on the weekend trying to find markets where I could go with my strategy of trying to make a little bit of money and end up putting it down this week. So I'll talk about that a little bit later.
Well, there you go. We'll go into my next one anyway. Gold Coast versus Melbourne. I had Melbourne at the line and then a couple of other things as insurance. And I got the insurance up, but I had Melbourne minus 16.5. They started off really well, 3 goals up. And then they just couldn't kick away from the Gold Coast. And the Gold Coast kept coming and made it really tight at the end. So bonus from that.
The bonus from that one, Pez. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I want to talk about the Melbourne game because I had a bonus bet in that one as a result of my bet in the Geelong versus Adelaide game. I had Holmes to get 20 or more, which he did. He had an amazing second half, 16 in the second half, and did really well. Geelong plus 10.5, which got up, and Ollie Henry to kick 2 goals.
Easy.
And Pez, early on, first quarter, 2 absolute gimmies for shots of goal. Ended up with 1 goal 3 for the game.
Oh.
And you know what? A little bit unlucky. It was a bit wet, and I did say that was a risky one. So I'm sitting there going, all right, 1 goal 3. All right, cool. I'll put the bonus bet down because I got a bonus bet with Neds. Went straight on to the Melbourne game, Pez.
GWS Bulldogs.
GWS Bulldogs. So I had Western Bulldogs as the money line and Jesse Hogan, 3 goals. And I thought, you know what? It's a little bit risky, but $6 odds, loved it. First quarter, boom. Snags one pretty early, and I'm sitting there going, oh,
Need 2 more.
You little ripper.
Okay.
Just 2 more. Look back at I'm watching it. Miss. 1-1. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
1-2.
Oh, no, not good.
Not great. 1-3 is the third one, and I don't swear that often, Pez. But and then he gets one. He gets one at the end. So my bonus bet over my $50 over 2 bets lost from 3 goals 6, Pez.
Yeah.
3 goals 6.
Just needed 1 more from one of them.
Just you're forwards. just kick the fucking thing through the sticks, Pez.
Wow.
That's an absolute killer, and I don't ever sit here and sook about it. But bad kicking is bad football, and Ollie Henry and Jesse Hogan, that is fucking bad football. I've dropped 4 F-bombs here because it was the only bad bet that I had. It wasn't even a bad bet. It was the only loss that I had was all around these freaking goal kickers.
Look, sometimes you make a bet and sometimes you make the right call, which obviously
I made
in both
the right
of those
call.
games it was the right call. And when they don't come off and then you make the next call and you go a little bit out there, $6 odds, and then you go, oh shit, that could have happened easily as well, and it doesn't.
I'll
Yeah,
give you some
very
insight,
frustrating.
Pez. The Hogan one was a good call because if I didn't have the bonus bet, I was putting down that bet anyway. I had that bet ready to go. But yeah.
Could have been Profit City. Both of them get up. You would have had that. And then
But
the other
anyway,
one.
not one to talk about the losses, especially when we have a 7 unit profit.
Yep.
Probably more.
Unbelievable. The same game I'll go with, GWS Western Bulldogs. So I had the tab special, Bont 20 plus. He had 18 or 19 in the first half, so that was easy. The Bulldogs to win and over 139.5. Now, I'm watching the game. Bont's already got his 20. I know the Bulldogs are probably going to hold on and win. And I'm thinking, geez, this is a chance not to hit the over 139.5 here. So what I've done is I've jumped on Sportsbet. I just keep refreshing.
Refreshing the live bets and the totals.
Yeah, just the totals. And I saw it at 158. And at the time when I saw it during that third quarter, I was like, I can't make a call like that and then it not hit. I was like, I'm just going to hedge this. I'm going to try and hit the middle. And if I don't hit the middle, I won't lose anything because I'm going to hedge it. So what I did is I called up, got the live bet out there, 1.2 units at $1.90, under 158.5. The game got very close to that. 156, 157 points it ended with. But because I hit the middle source, I won that bet. So plus 1.08 units and then plus 1.2 units. So it worked out really well in the end.
And what a milestone for the show, Pez. The first hedge that we've ever had on the pod, and it gets up, and your bet gets up. So no need for the hedge. Great betting, great punting. Good job, Pez.
Yep. And if you don't know what a hedge is, do a little bit of reading, have a look at it, or send us a message and we can let you know what happens.
We can definitely. In the Gold Coast versus Melbourne match, I was all over Fiorani to get 20 plus pairs, Melbourne money line and Melbourne plus 29.5, 232 odds. I got my unit back with that pairs, so great win with that one. Took me out. Keep jumping on Fiorani. He'll get in this week. I've used him in my bets.
Well, yeah, and I liked that how you had the Melbourne ML. Nervous about the Melbourne line, obviously, because I had the line and it cost me there. So Fremantle Hawthorn. This was a very easy bet of mine. Fremantle to win. Fremantle first half plus 9.5. First half under 99.5. That was probably the leg that got the closest to losing. Under 191.5. And Brayshaw for 20 plus. Had a stellar game with a couple of goals and 30 plus disposals. So that was 220. And you win that one as well. And it was a stellar Saturday night.
It absolutely was, Pez. I talked about how the line was way too small at 16.5, so I chucked that in with a same game multi, Pez. No need for insurance because Luke Ryan, I had him for 20 more, and I told you the way that they were using him around the back, they utilised that perfectly. He ended up with 27, a great little collect there for me, Pez, and continued the winning streak. And again, that's that trend continues on to the Sunday.
Yeah, you'll take it. So Port Adelaide Essendon, this is the famous TikTok video. Well, not so famous because Essendon fans are silking a bit.
It would be famous if the Essendon fans had a backbone and could actually sit there and take the crap that they were giving out.
Because my bet lost in this video. So I had minus 12.5. So I'm surprised no one jumped on that because they're just sore losers and don't want to do anything. So my bet was a total flop. Lost a unit there. Not too concerned about it, but your bet. Yeah, it was very, very close.
It was very, very close, Pez. I had Port Adelaide minus 4.5. The line, the total points over 159.5, and Horn Francis 15 plus. That was easy money. That one, Pez. 298 and lads 2 units, and I had to watch it right at the end. Almost, my girlfriend fell asleep. We were snuggling on the couch watching the footy. I had the phone balanced on her head at one stage. I hope she does not listening right now, but almost woke her up a couple of times when it got close. But great little collection for me there, Pez, and continued the streak.
Well, the big fella for Essendon, the ruckman, had a shot at goal in the last minute.
Yep.
Looked on track, and sometimes you get really bad camera angles when you're watching it.
It looked very on track,
It fell very, very short, and it was able to rush it for a
There
behind.
may have been a little bit of a celebration there that I had to pretend I was yawning into a bit of a cuddle on the couch.
6 points up turns into 5, and you clear the line by 0.5.
But even that last kick out, Charlie Dixon went backwards, and then he just bombs it straight away, instantly bombs it up the ground.
No use going backwards. You would have still gained extra meterage.
No one was on the mark. Just stand there. just stand there until someone comes. But anyway, the last one I had, Pez. You heard a game. You had one in the Collingwood vs Sydney game.
Yeah, well, I chucked out my tab bonus, and I really liked this one until I started watching the game. So I had Collingwood minus 10.5. It got up. Lloyd 20 plus. It got up. Blakey 15 plus. It got up. Blakey 2 marks also got up. But I had the over 141, and I was doing the same thing here, Sauce. I was going with the sports bet. Just refreshing. I saw it at about 156.5, and I thought that was too small of an odds. And then as soon as the game, went through that lull and there was no goals,
you were loving it.
It dropped. No,
you would have been loving it. Sorry,
it dropped all the way down,
yeah.
And it went to 125 and then 119, and it was just like, all right, I'm just going to take the bonus. The bonus can go. It would have been nice to get up at 3:30, only missing the one leg, but when you miss a leg, Sauce, it's a loss. So we go from there.
We do go from there, Pez. The only other bet I had was my multi, which was my blue bet bonus from the week before. Port Adelaide and Fremantle, Pez, they both got up. When you get 9 out of 9, I mean, that's an easy hit for me there. So, Pez, I absolutely cleaned up, and nice little I'm on a nice little wing streak, Pez. 4 straight W's.
4 straight rounds.
4 straight's a profit as well, but at the end round, this round, 4 wins in a row.
How good's that?
I'm going to keep the streak alive.
I only staked 6.2 units, and it went up a little bit with my hedge with the 1.2 for a profit of 2.05 units. So return on investment of 33%, and for the year I've profited 5.07 units. So after 8 rounds, not ideal where I want to be, but I am in the green. And we are in profit, so that is very, very good.
I mean, it's cute, Pez. It's really cute what you tried to do that round, but it's nothing compared to what I did. Absolutely dominated round 7.
Yes, you weren't speaking last week when you were down, were you?
Please. As I said, everyone loves a comeback story, Pez, and it's so much better to talk absolute shit when I dominate you, which is quite irregularly. So round 7 for next year, they're going to call it Sauce round, and I staked 7 units for it, and profit. I was about to read out profit loss, but there was no loss, Pez. 10.68 units, a huge ROI of 152 for the year. Staked 49 units, and I'm up 12, Pez. Up 12 in the green, loving life where I am.
Yeah, 25%.
And I can tell you what, Pez, from what I've staked already, I'm still up next round. Still up. Because I haven't staked 12 units, so back-to-back rounds when I'm in the green, you little ripper.
Yeah, it just keeps going. So what the listeners really want is they want what we are betting.
They want more value, Pez.
And
they called for it last week on TikTok. They said, hey, Sauce, help us out on the Sunday. And I delivered. So get ready for this round. I'm going to deliver again.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Now Bex with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate, and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes! Yes!
Straight into the specials, Pez. We're not talking about my bet slip. We're talking about the sports betting specials.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang!
Yeah, Sportsbet, same again. They've got the Friday night second chance multi-source, but there are two games on. So you can jump in there with the two games and you get your second chance multi back, which hopefully you don't need to use it. Tab have the 3+ leg same game multi, 1 leg fails, or 5+ leg same game multi up to 2 fail. Minimum odds per leg $1.10, has to be $2 in total. Lads have 1 refund per day with their same game multi, 3+ legs. Neds have the 12+ halftime payout on the Friday, so there's 2 games there. But Bluebet, we've bought it back, Sauce. Bluebet have it, the 12 up special at halftime for head-to-head bets. So if you got any head-to-heads that you like out there and you're just doing it straight up, no little multis or anything, head over to Bluebet or Neds on a Friday night for that 12 up special.
That's definitely the way to do it, Pez. I think Neds have it as well, the 12 up special.
You weren't listening to what I said, did you? Because that's exactly what I said.
I just wanted to say it again just to get that.
Sound like a dickhead.
I was trying to get the. I realized every week when I'm trying to get up the odds for there, I was like, I went on to Neds and I'm like, oh, whoops.
I literally just said the 12 up at Bluebet or Neds on the Friday night.
Why would I listen to you, Pez? I'm up 12 units. You shut up.
Right?
Let's get into the game, Pez. I'm up 12 units. I don't need to listen to you. All right, Richmond taking on Geelong Friday night. The first of $3. 2 outsiders are the Tigers at $1.37. Favourites are the Cats. -17.5 is the line. Over under 170.5. Pez. MCG bounce back game for Richmond, coming off a nice big. Well, they come back from a nice win. It was a nice win last week.
So it's not a bounce back.
No, but I mean bouncing back to the G.
Okay,
bounce back to form.
All right.
Shut up and tell me your bet.
Well, Cochin comes in and they're going to nurse him to 300 this year definitely, and Parfitt is getting another gig here with Close having that suspension and Dangerfield going out. So it'll be interesting to see if he's the sub again for Geelong or if something else is going to happen there. So I have gone with the Sportsbet special, and we're on a 3+ leg same game multi here, Sauce, and I've just gone some disposals. Tom Atkins to get 15+ disposals, $1.33
bargain.
And the reason why this is value, it's saluted in the last 4 games, and he's attended 83% of centre bounces. And last week, Dangerfield got injured. He's not playing. He attends on average about 60% per week in that centre square, in the centre bounces there. So Tom Atkins is going to get at least 80 or at least 70+% in the centre bounce. I think he can get 15 at $1.33. Jacob Hopper, 20+, $1.24. He's hit it 6 out of 7 times this season. He missed it in round 1. And Tim Taranto, 25+, at $1.25. He's 8 out of 8 for the year, with his lowest disposal being 27, and he's cleared 30 5 times. So I like those 3 together. $2. Give me the money.
Oh, we'll give you the money, Pez. I'll give you some stats as well. I love that Atkins bet, Pez, because of the 7 games that Dangerfield missed last year, Atkins averages 19.5 in those games that he missed. His CBAs are up from last year already, and we know that he attends the centre bounces a heap this year. I love that value. I like him for 15 at $1.33. Is that what you said? Yep. Love him for 20+. 260 you can get for 20+. I've gone 3 legs. Max Holmes, he gets 20 or more. He's averaging 21 disposals for the year. Danger out. We saw him get a little bit more of the pill. Atkins is the player that goes in there and gets it. Max Holmes will become that outside player and kick it down long. I've got both of them for 20 Pez. And Geelong to win, $4.20, 2 units. Love it.
Big. There we go. Both. So Tom Atkins, you bumped him up to 20 with the Dangerfield out.
With the Dangerfield out, yeah, Pez. I mean, he averages 19.5 when he's out there. You know, he's been getting about 15, 16 as it is. I think that boosts everything up.
Yeah, definitely 420s where to be. I was looking at Hopper 25+ and try to boost it up a bit, but I'm just going that $2, and I think I might be able to hit it. West Coast versus Gold Coast, same night.
Same night. The AFL tried to hide this game, but we have to talk about. We found it, and we're only talking about because of the sports bet special. I would say, Pez, because it's not going to be a pretty one. West Coast taking on a Gold Coast, of course, Pez, at our very famous SBS Stadium. $3.60. Outsiders are the Eagles. $1.28 favourites. are the Gold Coast Suns. Minus 22.5 is the line. Over under 172.5. Pez, the AFL tried to hide this game. Tell us why they tried to hide it.
They tried to hide it because you've got no fans for the Gold Coast. West Coast are really struggling at the moment, but there'll be some fans there over at Optus SBS Stadium. So I've gone the Sportsbet special. I've found 4 legs that I like. Alex Witherden, 15 plus, $1.11. Hearn is a designated kick-in taker for West Coast, and he's out with an injury source. So the next in line is Alex Witherden, who has been taking kick-ins anyway. So he took 2 last week, and Hearn took, I think, 6 or 8. I can't remember the number. But he'll take the most kickouts this week, and they'll continue to use him, and he's hit 15 plus in his last 4. Matty Rao, the grass eater. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't mind it. What are your thoughts on that?
I've no bloody idea what's going on there. And you caught on TV. He must have had a brain fade because the cameras.
They reckon he does it every week. They reckon it's part of his routine.
Well, I'm going to see it every week now, aren't I?
I would like to. It's probably just get in touch with the earth, get one with the ground, but a little bit weird.
Yeah, too weird for me. But 15. Where's your grass? You got some grass here. 15 plus. He's around 80% centre bounce attendances, and he's hit 15 plus 7 out of 8 times this year. Tim Kelly, 25 plus, $1.38. $1.38 is pretty good value. He's hit it 6 out of 8 times, and he's been close to the other 2. So we'll go from there. This is where the value comes from, though. I've gone Jack Lukosius, okay, to score 2+ goals, paying $2.05. Now, his last 4 games, he's had 2+ scoring shots every game except the Tigers, but that game had a 47-point first half total with both teams. So playing against the Weagles, he could get multiple chances, and if he's even 55, 60, 65, 70 metres out, he can still get it through the big stick. So he has been inaccurate, kicking 1 goal 3 a couple of times, but 2+, put them all together, $3.30. I don't mind that for a second chance hit.
It's not a second chance hit, Pez. Free hit. Just a free hit.
You got to win the bonus back, mate.
Free hit. We get on Boss Bet. They're calling it a free hit. They do it on a Friday night and Saturday night. But
I'm not getting on Boss Bet, I'll tell you that.
It's very, very hard to navigate. I'll tell you that website, Pez. We gave advice early in the year, Pez. Anytime you can get the Eagles anywhere in the fixture below 30 points, jump on it. And I've done exactly that, Pez. I think we need to remember the Gold Coast are improving. It's really odd that their best player goes out and they seem to be improving across. They had a really big win against Richmond away from home. They knocked off the Tigers, and the Tigers just knocked off West Coast in West Coast by 40+. So I love the value here at minus 21.5. It's already gone up to 22.5. I expect it to keep falling out, so jump on that early. And as I said, Pez, took Miller out, Fioroni in that middle, 20 or more disposals. Since he's gone out, 21, 20, and 24. That's all cashed. He's still sitting there about $1.40 as well, $1.30, sorry. So jump all over that one. That gives me odds of 270 with 2 units, Pez. And I've done something also. I've put 1 unit down, just straight out, Gold Coast. 1 unit, 40+, $3. Because I think that there's heaps of value there. I think Gold Coast use this as a fill-up game. They're looking really good at the moment, and West Coast have got no one.
I hope that either comes close or win source, because that means Lukosius, if he's playing a forward there, might get those 2 goals.
Snag a couple goals for you, Pez?
Yeah, definitely. And then they just need the other ones to jump up. We head into Saturday. Struggling Sydney, taking on Fremantle.
Really tough game, this one, Pez. I would really be interested to see the last time Sydney lost 4 in a row, and couldn't imagine the club of their calibre has done that in the last 5 or 10 years. But anyway, Sydney taking on Fremantle, $1.31 favourites are the Swans, $3.35 outsiders the Dockers. Minus 20.5 is the line, over under 166.5, Pez. This game's really, really tough. Both of these teams at the start of the year, we probably would have thought they would have been top 4, top 8 contention. Both of them SD Ruggerland, and Sydney you probably lean only because they're at home.
Yeah, but at $1.31, can you?
It's not a strong.
Can you really trust that? Do they have it out? Tom Hickey coming back in for Laddams, I think could actually help if Tom Hickey can play like he did during the regular season last year. Will Hayward is $1.31 to score a goal. He's usually up there in the forward line, and they spot him up in really good positions usually. But nothing for me at the moment. I don't have a lot of interest. Fremantle have been struggling also, so no bet for me.
Yeah, no bet for me, Pez. The game is really hard to read. Fremantle have been good, but they've sort of been good at home, but then they lost to the Doggies in pretty pretty big sort of fashion. I'd probably be leaning Sydney because of the home ground advantage. Maybe the 1-39, $2.12. That's not bad odds, but too much risk involved for not much reward at $1.30 and $2.12. So no bet for me in that one. Speaking on, we get to the Horn Francis Cup, played at Tassie, which was very nice of the AFL to look after Horn Francis.
Is Tasmania playing?
Hey?
Not yet.
No, not yet. North Melbourne taking on Port Adelaide, $5.25 outsiders, the Kangas, $1.16 favourites are the power, -31.5 is the line, over under 167.5 Pez. I mean, he's escaped it here because the Tasmanian fans are not going to be booing with the announcement of their Tassie team. They'll probably get like 4 supporters there for North Melbourne.
You reckon?
Well, maybe you reckon that's too high?
You know what they should have done? They should have released, or they should have decided on the Tasmanian jumper, put it out there in the stocks or in the stands, in the shops, whatever, and then get everyone to go to Bluntstone or wherever they're playing, Hobart, in the Tasmanian jumper, watching the North Melbourne and... No?
Do you know what would have been better? Just doing that, but then going to the other stadium and just watching nothing and cheering, because that's about what this game is going to be worth watching, Pez. At least you would have been like, wow, they're fully invested in Tassie. This is going to be a success, but because this is going to be an absolute beat-up fest by Port Adelaide, I think.
Yeah, you reckon they'll do it? I'd be interested to check the weather and the wind in this one.
Weather, it's interesting you say that, because I reckon it's going to be probably the nicest of the Saturday games, the weather on the forecast. Yep.
There we go. Because usually at Bluntstone, as opposed to Hobart, it gets really breezy. So I'm not going to touch it in any way. Ben Cunnington being omitted is something I do have to mention. And Rioli goes out with the suspension, so they'll have to bring someone in as well. So leave it for me.
Yeah, I'd be leaving it as well, Pez. Probably lean towards the -31.5. It's going to be mostly sunny. It'll look probably about 11 degrees, but still pretty good sort of weather. Over the 167.5 looks pretty good too. Port Adelaide can pile it on pretty quickly, and in the past they've definitely beat up on the lesser opposition.
What I should mention is sometimes you need to watch the pre-game or listen to pre-game radio when you're playing in Hobart, Tasmania, Bloodstone, without the roof of the new stadium, obviously. And if the team that's the underdog wins the toss and kicks with the wind, if there's a 4 or 5 goal breeze, you can get some really good value on
First
quarter time
line,
line, because you can get like a +7.5 for a big underdog, and they've got a 4 goal breeze. Like, it's really good, but it has to be there and then, and you have to.
Yeah, and you have to do it. You have to be really aware of the wind conditions and where it's blowing. And, if you're at the game, you'd be loving it. But if you're one of those 4 lucky people, then good on you. You deserve to win that bet. Let's continue on the Saturday time slot. Pairs Hawthorn taking on Melbourne. 6.50 outsiders, the Hawks. $1.10 favourites are Melbourne. -42.5 is the line. Over under 171.5 Pairs. A little bit of question without notice, Pairs. Do you think Hawthorn are going to sponsor Tasmania? Do you think they'll put the Hawthorn Hawks on their jumper going forward in 2029? No, because that's about as much interest I have in this game, Pairs. I think.
No interest.
I mean, it's good that the Van Ruin's playing. That's really good. That's probably the only thing that came out just before.
Yep, that's a positive, you reckon?
Otherwise, it'd be a pretty boring sort of game. Mate. A good game to win some money.
Yeah, well, looking at the weather, it says sunny and about 17 degrees at that time on Saturday in Melbourne. So, what I'm going to do is I'm looking at these two teams. And we know that Hawthorn are down the bottom. They compete for a little bit. But Melbourne's total team points, it's at 106.5 on Bet365 at $1.95. On Neds and Lads, it's 107.5 at $1.87. So less value and more points. So I'm going to go over on that, over 106.5. So Melbourne to score 107 or more, doesn't matter what Hawthorn score. In Melbourne's 4 games at the G this year, they've scored 139, 134, 115, and 96. Hawthorn have played 2 games at the G, and their opposition scores have been 127 when Geelong beat the shit out of Hawthorn, and Essendon scored 124 against them in round 1. So that's where I'm going with that, and I don't mind it.
Don't mind it at all, Pez. I like your theory there because Melbourne scoring big means that's a good chance of my bet getting up. Jeez, a frog in my throat then. All right, I've gone a 3-leg same game multi, Pez. Melbourne to win the match. Melbourne plus 4.5 as a little bit of insurance there, Pez. And then I've looked at Hawks, Pez, and I was going through the research, and realistically, if you're a big forward, you have a day out against Hawthorn. Listen to this. Against Freo, Frederick had 3, Amiss had 3. You look at, not Amiss, Amos had 3. You go the Dogs, Norton had 4 goals, 3. Lob had 2, Hugo hadn't had 2. Adelaide, Walker had 4, Fogarty had 3. GWS, a little bit low scoring, but 5 scoring shots each for Hogan and Himmelberg. Jeremy Cameron had 7 against them. North Melbourne is shit. Hawthorn against the Swans. Amati had 4. McDonald had 5. So if you're a big forward, you absolutely pile it up, Pez. And I was waiting to see if Van Ruin, him to kick 2 goals, sitting $2.05. So I'm back on Van Ruin.
You've gone again.
I know Punosaurus will be with us. So that gives me odds of 231, 2 units with that one, Pez. Money back if one leg fails with lads.
So Melbourne plus 4.5.
Yep.
So if Melbourne win, you've definitely at least got a bonus bet.
I just need Melbourne to win and him to kick 2 goals. That's only in there for the insurance.
Yeah, and that's and then plus 4.5 was the biggest line, obviously.
Yeah, they didn't offer much more. Not at $1.10, Pez.
I'm surprised they're offering plus anyway. But we'll go to the Gabba.
We do for the Saturday night clash, Pez. One of 2 games. Brisbane taking on Essendon. $1.17, $4.85. Outsiders are the Bombers. 31.5 is the line. Over under 184.5. Pez. Essendon fans have already turned off the podcast, so there'll be only Brisbane fans here. Tell us why the Lions get this done.
I was going to actually lock something in. I was going to lock in the total points here, and I was going to go over because night games at the Gabba, Brisbane and Essendon, can be pretty high scoring. And after seeing what Essendon did to defend Port Adelaide last week, I know Port Adelaide didn't pile it on because they were very inaccurate, but Essendon weren't anywhere to be seen when they turned the ball over, and they weren't running the other way. And Port Adelaide just had a free roam to it. Inside forward 50 entry. And Brisbane's forwards are very, very strong. So Essendon had efficiency in front of goal last week, but I had a look at the total, 183.5, and I think that's high. And I'm a bit nervous to go either way at the moment. So I'm going to watch the number with interest. And if that was 10 points less, I would have jumped all over it.
The 174, you'd say, probably?
173, 174, I'll jump over.
That sounds good.
But 183, I'm just a little bit nervous to pull the trigger right now. I'll just wait and see and go from there.
I'm really glad that you said that because at the start when you started talking about it being too high, I thought, oh shit, I've gone the over here. But I actually used an alternate line and bumped it down to 174.5. It's one of my legs, Pez. Otherwise, I just got Brisbane to win the game and Dunkley over 20. He's been in absolute ripping form. I think that they haven't really got anyone up forward, Essendon, down back to compete with Brisbane scoring. I think they score at a high rate. And I just don't think that Essendon can compete. They're not very good. So $2.10, well, 2 units, 1 leg fails with Neds. Money back in a bonus bet.
Ridley and Kelly both out with injuries, and Parrish is not playing either. So
Brisbane
should be
easy.
all over it. But this is the type of line at 31.5, and I'm tipping that's why I didn't put it in, where you can't really trust Brisbane because you don't know what they're going to do on the day.
I mean, if Brisbane blare away at goal and they blaze away at goal, they could possibly have a repeat of what Port Adelaide did and keep Essendon in the game. But they should, with the amount of talent they got up forward. I mean, their third best forward is they got Cameron, they got Danaher, and then you got the what's the other bloke's name? Hipwood,
Lincoln McCarthy,
Bruce.
Rainer goes up. Bruce.
Not
Johnston.
Dunstan. I couldn't think of his name. Jeez.
Bruce.
But he's your best forward. Like
Bruce would be handy.
They've got no one that can defend that, Pez. We saw how Hawkins absolutely dismantled them on his own.
Yes.
And Cameron was up by the ground. They've got an absolute stacked forward line. They're going to they could be in real trouble here, Essendon. It'd be nice for the Essendon fans to have a wake up call because I think they need one. They're shit. They're no good. All right, let's get on to the other game. Carlton taking on the Western Bulldogs. Pez, we've become a bit of an Essendon-hating podcast because of their fans on TikTok, but Carlton taking on Western Bulldogs. This will be an absolute cracker, Pez. Both, Carlton's been a bit disappointing the last couple of weeks, and probably this month, actually probably the last 2 seasons, they've been really disappointing with the amount of talent they've got on there. $1.92 outsiders. You could have got that $2 earlier. They also, early in the week, you could have got them $1.80. So the bookies don't know what to do with this one. Western Bulldogs favourites, $1.88. They've been really dominant the last couple of months, the last month, Pez, but had a bit of a soft draw. 0.5 is the liner to pick them. Over under 165.5. Pez, really interested to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, and as I've said, this is my favourite game of the week, just because it's the game that's closest in odds. It's probably the hardest game in all your tipping competitions, where you're going to get half people tip one way, half tip the other. I really like the value, especially with the Blue Bet 12 up special. So I'm going one way or the other here. And if you look at all the stats and the way they've been playing in the last 3 weeks, you're going to be all over the Bulldogs. But I'm not looking at the stats in this one, because the Dogs in their last 3 wins, they've played against the Giants, the Hawks and the Dockers, who are absolutely struggling at the moment. The media are jumping into bed with the Bulldogs at the moment. And I just can't see it. No. And I think this is an amazing bounce back spot for Carlton. I think the Carlton forward line is going to put the Western Bulldogs back line under a lot of pressure. The only thing is the Bulldogs midfield is really good with Libba, if they play Bont in there for 3.5 quarters instead of just 2 quarters. But Carlton can compete because they've got some really good players in there. Cripps needs to bounce back, and Treloar's out. And I really like the ins for the Blues as well, with Cottrell and Owies coming in, Kemp, Curnow, Honey going out. So I'm 2 units on this one. Carlton, head-to-head, $1.95 at Blue Bet. If they're up at 12 up at half-time, the bet will be paid out and it'll be over, and I won't have to worry about the result.
I totally agree with what you're saying, Pez. Carlton, in all team stats, they're absolutely dominating the Western Bulldogs. You look at marks inside 50, they're up 12.1. As you just said, they're going to have no one to compete with that tall forward. You know, they're killing them in tackles, goals per inside 50. They're disposals, they're beating the Bulldogs, which is incredible, because we know that the Western Bulldogs just overpossess the football. I agree with what you're saying in terms of the bounce back. I mean, we're hanging a lot of shit on Carlton as the media, but they've just lost to possibly one of the premiership favourites, and they were pretty competitive with Brisbane for 3/4 of a game. Right?
They were in the game.
They were in the game.
Stage, yeah.
They've been, they've knocked off a couple of decent sort of sides along the way. They've had a disappointing spot for the expectations, but I love this for Carlton, and you give me $2 for it earlier in the day. You love that. I've jumped on Boss Bet, and I've put my bonus in there because it was really hard trying to find it, and they were playing $2 earlier in the day, Carlton, and I've paired that up with Brisbane for the win. So I got $2.41, and I put my bonus bet on that one, Pez, but it was a real struggle trying to find it. But I think Carlton get this done. I think it's a great spot. They're going to be my sure pick this week in all comps. They're going to be I think you can make a lot of money around it.
So you're going Carlton as well. So
I agree.
Wow. All right.
Now you want to pull your bet back?
Yeah. I just didn't know what to expect, because I think a lot of people will be on the Bulldogs this week.
I mean, look, if you're looking at stats in the last month and all the things that, just specific to the games that the teams that have been in front of them, it looks like Western Bulldogs. And if you're a Carlton fan, you're on emotion. You're like, what are we doing? This. But if you actually analyse it, there's really good spot for Carlton to win. And as you said, Treloar's a big out in that middle, really big out. I wasn't sure. I thought Hugo Hagen was out as well. I heard that this morning, but it doesn't seem that has come into fruition. Maybe it's a late out. But anyway, let's get on to Sunday, Mother's Day. Only 2 games, Pairs. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, all the people, all the strong females in everyone's lives. Adelaide versus St Kilda. This is going to be a cracker of a game. Really test for St Kilda to see where they are, and to see Adelaide where they are as well. 164 favourites are the Crows, 226 outsiders the Saints. -6.5 is the line. Over under 160.5. Pairs. Saints, really tough spot. Big challenge.
Big challenge, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and all the mothers listening to the podcast as well. So
because there's a heap of mothers listening.
100%. I think that Caminiti is going to be a big in for the Saints, because the Saints have really struggled with a key forward presence since he got suspended against Collingwood the other week. So getting him in there and having someone who can bring the ball to ground and have other players around being able to run and get those crumbs will really help them. Adelaide, I think they have been overhyped, but they do have some really good players and they do use the ball really well. When they were at Adelaide Oval against Carlton, they looked amazing in that first quarter. And I just think that the way they moved the footy and used the ball over there was really good. I'm so interested in the way Ross Lyon is going to set up defensively, because we saw what he did at Adelaide Oval against Collingwood and how, he let them come up, defended, ran the other way. It was a low-scoring affair for the majority of that game. So it'll be interesting to see if Ross Lyon can slow Adelaide's scoring down and what he can do, because we know their defence can stand up. I'm going to watch this as a fan with interest on Mother's Day.
Yeah, I like what you said there, because I used the premise of what Ross Lyon did last time in Adelaide against Collingwood as a whole premise of my bet. If you had backed St Kilda unders all year, Pez, you would have won 6 out of the 8 games.
Okay. In the total game points?
Total game points,
yep.
Under. And roughly they've been sitting about 168 for all of them, Pez. Maybe a little bit lower against some. And as the last 3 weeks have all been under 161.5, Pez. That's what it's been, and that's what it remains the same here, Pez. I love the value in it, and I think that I'm going to back St Kilda 1 unit, under 161.5. As I said, 6 out of the last 8 games have all gone under. What St Kilda do, Pez, even against high-scoring teams, they drop their scores, the other team's average, by 20%. So Adelaide sit at about 90, so that'll bring it down to 80, and possibly even more, because, as you said, we've seen the game style unfold at Adelaide Oval. So, Adelaide will try to combat it, but I think they're too young. There'll be a lot of hype going into this game because it's an important spot. So I've gone 1 unit, $1.88, under 161, Pez, and then I've also gone a second unit, under 142.5, Pez, because the last 5 games in St Kilda have played, they've all gone under 142.5. Alternate total points, 1 unit, 335.
Okay. So you've gone the alternate as a separate entity?
As a separate entity.
Just a single...
Just two single 1 unit bets on that, 161.5 and 142.5.
So if it's 162 or over, that's a 2 unit loss, but if you're on the money here, it can be a big one.
Yeah, and I think that, as you said, we've seen what Ross Lyon does. The last 5 games have all gone under the 142.5, including, against some pretty high-scoring opponents. So I really like the chances in this one, and just having a little bit of play with something different. I've got so much flexibility in my units to there. I just wanted to have a bit of a play.
We saw Adelaide and Collingwood had a really low-scoring affair. It was around 118 points, something like that.
And that blew out in the last quarter too when Collingwood came back. And, Ross Lyon doesn't really do that. They don't really have the big lapses like Adelaide did in that one. So I'm interested to see how it pans out with a new little strategy I'm trying.
All right. Now, the most fans or fan attendance in the AFL, Collingwood, and they're playing against GWS on Mother's Day. Really poor time slot with the twilight fixture on the Sunday. What do you think happens? 70,000?
Great. 70,000.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, possibly around that. I definitely think it's a good time slot. Sunday roast at 12, out the door by 2:40, 3:30. Boom, at the game by 4:40. Loving it.
I reckon they might get 50.
You reckon they might get 50?
Yep.
I'll take the over 50.
You take the over? They're playing against the Giants.
Okay. Well,
so not much coming back the other way.
Collingwood have 200,000 fans as it is, Pez.
Not much coming back the other way.
Yeah, well, anyway, I'm trying to stay clean with some of my comments here, Pez. Let's get into it. Collingwood taking on GWS Giants, 116. Favourites are the Magpies, 5.30 outsiders, the Giants. Minus 32.5 is the line, over under 170.5, Pez. We've already heard your thoughts about Mother's Day and attendance at Collingwood. Let's hear about how GWS can stay competitive in this. Oh, they can't? Cool.
I don't know.
Good chat.
I'm not sure if they can. Toby Green is named as one of the ins, and they definitely need him to be able to do that. I don't think Collingwood fans will feel the same about Toby Green, but
are they going to boo Toby Green?
I reckon.
Probably the most booable, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's a weird word to say.
Very, very weird word. But he's really hated by a lot of clubs, and Collingwood just hate on anyone they can. Billy Frampton's injury. Collingwood, they just can't keep a ruckman in there. So
he's been really good for them too, Frampton.
He has. He's been a utility. He's been able to go back. He's been able to play in the ruck, and he's gone forward and kicked a few goals as well. So I don't know who's going to come in and be the ruckman and what's happening in there, but their midfield's too strong anyway. And their forward line has always been said you don't really have a key forward. Myercheck kicked 5 last week. I think Myercheck is probably a third forward, which we've probably said before, but they don't have anyone else yet. They don't have Ben King, and they haven't lured him down with millions and millions of dollars. But Collingwood should win this one easily. Do they go out of their way to try and smash them? Will the new coach at GWS in Kingsley, will he actually take some of his crosstown rivals, what Sydney did last week, and just try and really slow the game down and then go fast there, or does he not have the cattle?
I mean, if Sydney didn't have the cattle, GWS definitely don't have the cattle. I mean, Green's been really amazing in the middle, but he can't do it on his own. You asked so many more questions than gave me answers, Pez. That's not what I asked for.
I didn't give any answers. I didn't give any bet. We know it's a Sunday.
It's a Sunday. Oh, we're sorry, TikTok, but we might put out some live bets if that's what happens. But it's so hard to make a game at 4:40. It's almost in round 10. This game, so it's a tough one. I mean, you think that Collingwood would get it done? They're playing at the G. At the G.
Yeah.
Well, how come they don't get the Richmond time slot and play at Marvel?
Well, I think they do play one game at Marvel, but it's against another opponent. I can't remember who it is.
Collingwood will be upset they have to travel.
They will be upset, but they probably should play against the Giants at Marvel, just on crowd numbers alone.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, well, that's end of my betting, Pez. Nothing else for me to put out. No cheekies this round. Have you got any recommendations or anything to go forward? Something a little bit cheeky?
Oh, very.
You got a cheeky?
No.
Cheeky!
No cheeky.
Multi everything up.
Jeez, you can tell we're a bit delirious waiting on the Van Ruin news, Pez.
Let's go.
Late Thursday night.
Let's go Carlton 25 plus.
25 plus?
Yep.
What's that give you? You
I
haven't
don't
even
know.
looked at you. Jeez, you're shocking at this, Pez. I've gone a 10-leg same-game multi.
Have you actually?
No, I haven't. But if you back all the favourites that we've talked about that we think win, Pez, that gives you odds about $10. So that's something cheeky for everyone. You can power play, and even more, sorry. You can power play it and get to $12, $13. So, yeah. I mean, third week, Pez, you get 9 in a row. Surely you're picking all the winners.
Oh, we'll try to again, and the Carlton tip will definitely help. So Carlton 25 plus $3.90 by themselves, and then just add a couple of goal scorers in there or something to try and bump it up to that $5. But we don't even put that on anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we don't at all, but we do put on, Pez, we put on Twitter all of our bets. We put on our live bets. You can also get our interactions through our Twitter at Behind the Bound. Jump on our TikTok, which is...
At Behind the Bound as well. So a lot of questions we are getting on Instagram, TikTok is where can we get all your bets? The best place to get them is listening to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. And then the secondary place you're going to have to go to Twitter at Behind the Bound, and there's a Google Doc linked in there where all our bets will be up before the game starts, and they will be there. There goes the pen.
There goes the pen. Well, that's the end of the podcast, Pez. If you do find us on Apple or Spotify or whatever podcast provider you're listening to, make sure you give us the 5 stars. Make sure you drop a comment in there. We love all the feedback through Instagram and Twitter, but it helps us build through the rankings and helps other punters find us, and it's something that we would really appreciate, especially if we're filling your pockets with some cash.
We'll get around the sauce. I'm Pez. Peace out.
I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time, guys.
Now you're